My name's Rodney Ross, and this is my story of the Southside Sea Monster. It's a true story, and I told it here tonight at the Southside Church, the Fisherman Service. In case any of you all don't know which one I am, I'm the second one from the top, the cute one. I told Rodney how lucky she was. She's told me I was the lucky one, but I guess I am. No, that's me, whole 150 pounds of me, long hair and all, so 24 years old. I hope I don't mess this up, because I really want to tell this story, and it's the truth. Like, I would not lie in a place like this, especially God's house. This is the truth. Yeah, like I said, this happened 41 years ago. I think a little over a year ago, Sean and I were talking at, I think it was Eisner's funeral, and Sean made the statement that, you know, Rodney, you're the only one still living that actually see this sea monster. And I thought, wow, I guess I am. And I wasn't the youngest one, because Jigger Robert was the youngest one. Like, so last year at the Fisherman Service, I approached Sean. I said, I think this is a good time I should share my story. I don't tell this story very often, so, because like Sean said, when you tell it to fishermen, they either think you're crazy or making it up, and especially if you're a Ross. Rosses are noted to stress the truth, but like I said, this is what I'm going to tell you tonight is the truth, and I'm going to try to do in 3 parts. I'm going to try to do Eisner's, what Eisner saw, what we saw, and what Edgar and Robert saw. I've never done this before, and I don't know how many of you know anything about this story, but I know if it wasn't for my father that day, I wouldn't be here tonight. I'm almost sure of that. My father's quick thinking. I'm sure I would have died a horrible death. I'm positive of that. Like, anyhow, like I said, I'm gonna tell this in 3 parts. And you know, a little something that a lot of people don't know. Like, I used to see this thing on a Monday, and Tuesday. I'm sure there was people out there fishing on Tuesday. Nobody see it, nothing, no sightings or anything. Wednesday, we encountered this thing. Thursday, I'm sure there was other boats out there. Nobody see it or anything. Friday, Edgar and Robert see it. And you know, I don't know if it was just a coincidence or what, we all had green boats. And I'm sure there were other colored boats out there at that time. I don't know if this thing had I was going to say a liking for green boats, but I'm sure a disliking of green boats when you hear my story. Like, this thing, it was serious, it meant business, and I know it's hard for fishermen to believe me, because I don't know if they don't want to believe me, but I know what we saw, and I'm going to try to share it to you tonight. Okay, like I said, this was 41 years ago, 1976, in July. Monday, Eisner Penny was fishing at a place we call it the shoal, the local fisherman, but I guess the real name is Pollock Shoal, but we call it the shoal. And he fished that day, and it got, like, he had put in that day, and he decided he would head in, so he hauled his anchor and started for in, and he noticed something following, chasing on behind him, falling on behind him. Like, and I don't know how close it was to him, because like I said, I wasn't there. I'm just telling what I heard or read. Like, and you know, he knew it was something that he had never seen before. It had these huge eyes, that, like, you'll hear me later and talk about these eyes. They had these huge eyes that was really eerie, really scary, and it was like Eisner had been on the water a number of years. He he had never seen anything like this before, and he said, well, he guess he'd better put a little distance between him and this creature, and so we opened her up a little bit, and he noticed this thing was still following him. As he kept following him, he noticed it kept rising out of the water, like as it picked up speed. So I know, like you can imagine all alone seeing this horrible looking thing on behind him, and like this was a huge creature. Like this was no little fish. Anyhow, he decided he would open her up wide open and try to put a real distance behind it. But when he did this, he knows it rose out of the water higher. At last, in Eisner's words, it was probably 14 or 15 foot high. Like you can imagine this thing chasing on behind you and keeping up with you. 14, 15. Anyway, Eisner described it as looking like an outboard motorboat standing on its end, like chasing him. So Eisner said it chased him probably a mile or so, and he don't know if it got tired or just gave up or what, but it just disappeared back in the ocean. Like I'm only telling like what I heard, like I was in like like what I read or what people told me, but like my part, I lived it, so I know my part is true anyhow. So you can imagine how Isaac got in that night, and he, most of the men would go to up to Evan's store, and I should say, well, tell lies or tell fishing yarns or hunting yarns or whatever. And you can imagine Isaac telling these fishermen at the Evan's store about his encounter that day. They all thought he probably lost his marbles or was making it up or whatever. So, but we were unaware of this. Like my dad and I never knew anything like of this encounter. So, like I said, Tuesday, I'm sure there was boats out there because the shoal was quite a popular place. Like many boats would go there, and nothing. Nobody sighted anything. So Wednesday, our turn. So Wednesday mornings, like most mornings, we went out to our nets. We hauled our nets, and I think we had probably half a crate of herring in our nets. More than enough to go hand lining. Like, so this day, Dad said, I think we're going to the shoal today. Like I say, we were unaware of what happened to Eisner, like out to the shoal, and I said, well, I got no problem with that. Anybody that's fished the shoal, probably, I'm sure there's lots of people here that fished the shoal, knows that back then, if you got anchored just right, you can make those big codfish, you can make a day's work in a hurry. So we decided to go to the shoal this day. So we got there and we threw our anchor. We steamed around and thought we were just about right, so we threw our anchor and started fishing. I remember it was slack water, and anybody that's gone hand line knows slack water in the morning is probably the best time to catch fish. So we were doing pretty good. We caught probably 500 or 600 pounds. Like, that's not bad. So then the tide started to go, and Dad, well, anybody that's, like I said, been fishing that knows once the tide starts to go, you don't do so well because it's hard to keep your bait close to bottom. And so Dad decided he'd go down in the cut and, have his lunch or whatever. Most of the time Dad would grab a mackerel. If we had one in our hand pan or crate, and go down and fry that up. And I can remember Dad would never use butter or margarine. He would come out and open up a codfish and take a piece of that liver and throw that, you can imagine throwing that piece of liver in a hot frying pan stink. Ooh, I don't know, if you wasn't sick that day, it would make you go, I'm sure. But I'm not even sure he did, but he did it many times. I'm not even sure. I can't remember if he did fry a mackerel that day. And while he was in the cut, I was out fishing, and I was trying, and my wife's father, Robin, Frankie Simmons, had made me this rig the previous Sunday before, and he said, try this when the tide goes, because they used it like on German banks and around. It did quite well. I'm gonna show you what, or try to explain what the rig looked like that I was using that day. it consisted of like a wooden plug that I'm sure he whittled this himself. Like, that's probably the one I used that day. It has a hook on it. It hasn't got a hook on it now, but then above that would be probably a 6-pound lid. We used probably 2.5, like 3-pound lid. You can imagine a 6-pound lid with whole bottom ballast. So we above that we call a Christmas tree or a tree, and I got, for you people that don't know what I'm talking about, this what I'm sure it's supposed to resemble like a school of bait or something like that, and I'm pretty sure this is the one I used that day 41 years ago, the same one. I'm pretty sure it is. And above that we've used probably 3 or 4 of these worms, like what we call worms, a hook. So that was the rig I was using that day. Actually most of it's probably the same except for the worms. And you know, I remember throwing over the first time and I caught a codfish. I remember that. And I said, well, that's neat. Dad was down the cut late eating or getting his lunch, and I remember the next cast I made, I got a pair. And I said, well, I guess probably this is the rig. And I remember doing that for, oh, probably 4 or 5 times. And sometimes I'd grab a pollock on my way up, and I remember calling Daddy and saying, Dad, I think we found the rig when the tide's going, like, could make like extra money for us. So then I remember I threw over and nothing. Like, not a bite, nibble, nothing. Just like the ocean went dead. And I felt that was strange, because generally, well, I'm sure a lot of you fishermen know that when fish start to knock off biting, you get nibbles, but you won't seem to catch them. Like, it was none of that. Just like they vanished, just like something has scared them or what. And I just thought that was strange. Back then we didn't have push the button, let the machine do the work for you. We were hauling by hand, and I was hauling back this one time, and I looked out to the stern, and I see this thing in the water. And I thought it was something drifting, but I could hear this swishing noise, like a, you know. And like I said, I hadn't been on the water probably 5 years, like, in my life, but I kept watching it, and I said, well, gee, that thing's alive. And I could see it looking around, and these huge eyes, like, that's what you mostly remember about this thing. It had these huge eyes. They weren't like, just like they weren't in a socket. They weren't just popped out, like, but look almost like you'd see an alligator or something sneaking in the water. But these huge eyes, like Dad described them as big around as a saucer, but like they were at least, I'm sure, at least 10 inches across. I know they were huge. These big eyes just sneaking in the water. And I said, well, I don't know. Like I said, I hadn't seen a lot of fishing. Well, I said, well, maybe Dad knows about this. So I hollered to him. I said, Dad, come see what this is out to the stern of the boat. And I remember he come out the cut and peeked out around the house and just give a quick look, and he said, sunfish. And I said, well, I had seen a few sunfish in my day, but not, you know, I knew this was no sunfish. So, but he was only going about 5 seconds, 10 seconds, maybe back. He caught, I suppose it dawned on him that this was no sunfish. So we watched this thing as it would swim down by the boat to the eastward, and we couldn't, like, it was foggy that day. We could only probably see here the probably Vernon Dion's store over here, and it would swim down by, and it was looking all around, not once looking at our boat for some reason, but it was looking all around like it was looking for something. And it was turning into a sight, and then it would turn and come back, go back to the western, and like, this is something we didn't see for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. We see this thing for 15, 20 minutes. We see this, like we watch this thing. This is no little short sighting. Like we watch this thing and you could see these on the top of his head like coral or carbuncles we call them, or huge scars that look like the top of his head. And we watched it and watched it, and it did this probably 6 or 7 times, just swim down by, just like it was looking for something, but it never once looked at our boat, except for this one time. As it was swimming down by, it stopped and just turned right around. I guess everybody's gonna get quiet like that. It just turned right around and like stared right at us. These huge eyes, like, looked like, they were like, I was gonna say bloodshot, but they weren't, but they right, you could see the red in these eyes. Like, I mean, this was close. And we watched it and it just settled down in the water. And we said, this don't look right. Something's gonna happen here. So Dad went up and to start the engine, and 9 times out of 10 that engine would never start the first time, because I always had to freak around with the starter or the battery cables or something, but this one time just roar right off. She went. So we watched. As this thing kept, this thing, I swear tonight that it was sizing me up. I was over aft by the fish kid. Dad was up underneath him. It was just eyeing me right up. Like, we were eye to eye, and it was probably here to cross the road at that time, looking right at us. Like, if you got hairs on the back of your neck, I'll guarantee you they were standing up then, because this was spooky. We knew it meant something. So after a while, it started coming towards the boat, and as it kept coming, it kept rising out of water, and it kept rising out of water, and rising out of water. And my way, it opened up his mouth, and like you could see these rows and rows of teeth, and 2 big fang-looking things, or tusks, or I don't know. It was coming right out of the boat. He had his mouth wide open. I'd say he was probably 12 or 14 foot high. Like, he was out of water that high, and he come right at the side of our boat, right where I was standing. So I run up underneath the house, and when I run, Dad waited too. He figured this thing got just so close so he couldn't turn and chase us. So when he got, I mean, probably here to the doors down here from the church, like right down back here, Daddy opened up wide open, and we shot ahead, and like we were laying to an anchor too, you know, so we just shot ahead, and I looked back and I could see this huge body full of these, I don't know if they were scars or these big clumps of coral. It was full, like this grayish, blackish body, huge body, I'd say probably 50 foot long. Like, this was no small sea mammal or whatever, you know. And I watched it. It came so close to our boat I could hear a thud, where it just brushed the stern of our boat and sort of drove our boat ahead some. But we were already going that way, and it just dove under. It never made no splash. It just slipped into the deep, just vanished. Well, you can imagine, we didn't take off. We just, we stopped and let our boat drift back down over the anchor, and I looked at Dad and I said, well, Dad, what just happened here? Like, what was that? What was this thing? Dad said, I remember saying, well, I don't know. I said, Dad, I know it's no good to tell anybody. Who's going to believe a story like that? Like, Dad was noted to stretch the truth and got him in trouble. Right, Sean? Quite many times. Bubba knows that. So. But I know Mom and Dad say, I know, but we just see it. And just like we were dumbfounded, we stayed, most people would have got out of there, lickety split, right? Not us. It's like we were in awe, like we just sat there, we looked at each other, never spoke, and just like we were looking for it to come back or something, and so after probably half an hour or hour, we must have just sat there, like never spoke, and by and by we heard it again. This, we could hear it. We knew what it was, because we figured, I guess it's time to get out of here. So we hauled our anchor. I remember we hauled our anchor, and Dad put the radar on, and Dad said, I see a boat below us, about a mile. We should go probably warn this guy or this boat that, like, what's out here and what just happened. I was ready to go home. I didn't, like, not me, but we knew that was the correct thing to do, because we wouldn't want, like, a fate to happen, like something to happen, like what we just encountered. And so I remember we steamed down to this boat, and we broke out the fog, and you'd never guess what it was. Eisner Penny. There he sat, anchored, and I remember hollering to Eisner, and I said, Eisner, you want to get out of here in that little boat? Like, we were unaware that what Eisner had seen that Monday, and I said, you want to get out of here in that little boat? You see what we just saw. I remember the words Eisner said. Eisner said, you ain't got to tell me what you saw, because I saw it Monday, and he just took his line to work through it in the middle of the floor and hauled his anchor, and we give it to a friend, the pair of us. So when we got in, and you can imagine when people started hearing about this story, word spread fast. So I remember getting out of my truck that day, and Weldon Cox used to live right a field adjacent to me, and him and old man Seaton would always sit out there by the barn. They were retired, like fishermen, fished all their life, and every day I'd get in there, if it was fine, they would holler to me, want me to come over and share my story with them every day. It was at herring in the nets, or where we went fishing, and we caught any halibut or whatever. And I'd see them, Weldon Seaton waiting to me now. I said, this could be good. Me going over there, tell these two men probably been on the water over 100 years between them, what we just saw. So I said, well, anyhow, I'll tell them. I went over, and I started telling my story, and it wasn't what I expected. They listened, they didn't butt in, they didn't laugh, I could tell they were believing every word I said. And I can remember, after I got done, Weldon said, you know, Rodney, that back in I almost believe it's 1934, he said, there was two fishermen, and he told me their names, and you don't write this stuff down, which you should. I know, I'm pretty sure he said the last names were pennies, were fishing off the south side, and they had an encounter similar to what we did. This strange creature just rose out of the ocean and chased them ashore. And I just wish I had wrote down their names, because like when these old guys are gone, this information's gone with them. Like, it's no getting a second chance to ask them. So anyhow, I guess I'll do Edgar's part. And I don't know a whole lot about Edgar's encounter, because, like I said, I wasn't there, and I tried to find out more about it. But I know, like, Thursday passed by, and nobody saw anything there. And I'm no doubt the boats weren't there like other days, because I'm sure they heard what happened to us. And so Friday rolled around, and Edgar's decided he would be the brave one and go out to the shoal to fish. And they said that, like, we weren't out that day anyhow, but they said Edgar was on the sets laughing and saying, I guess I got the shoal all to myself. Keeps him scared, everybody. Nobody dares to come out here. And he was laughing on the set. But a little while after that, now this is just what I heard, this creature just rose up right out of the deep, right alongside his boat, and just, I guess, Edgar got so worked up that he was starting and stopping his engine. He didn't know if he had it going, and he was shutting her off, starting, and Edgar figured he'd turn his sounder on, because like a lot of fishermen believe if you turn your sounder on, it will scare fish or whatever, but I don't think the sounder would scare this, not this thing. So he took off, and he forgot he was anchored, and they said he tore his rail off his boat. He was so worked up. Anyhow, I guess he got his anchor and hit it in, and I don't think he went fishing for a couple, 3 weeks. Well, we didn't either. Like this, I remember when I got in, and when we got in, and like I said, word spread fast, and I don't know if these two guys Sean was talking about wanted to interview us. So I remember going down to Mum's, and these two guys pulled in, and they wanted to know the story, and I was telling the story, and when I started telling the story, I started shaking. Like, I started trembling and shaking, and I just couldn't stop. I don't know if the reality what happened, like, was setting in or what, but like, we came so close to losing our lives, a horrible, horrible death. I'm sure if it wasn't for Dad's quick thinking, I'm sure I wouldn't be here tonight telling my story. I'm almost certain of it. This thing meant trouble. He would have took in half of our boat, I'm sure of it. He would either sunk us, at us. Who would know what happened? I'm sure if they found, who would believe that fishermen out fishing got ate up by a sea monster or sea creature? Nobody would believe that. I'm sure people, if they found it in the wreckage, they'd say, well, they must have got hit by a steamer or something like that. But nobody would probably ever know what happened. Like, we came within feet, not yards, I mean a few feet, probably 15, 20 feet of this thing. Well, it came so close, it hit the stern of the boat. So I attribute me being here today, besides Daddy being my father, is that he saved my life and his life that day. But I know we had so many people calling from Seattle, from Florida, from California. I'm sure Mom knows, from Vancouver, and they'd call Mom all times at night and want to know about this creature we saw. And we had a guy come one day, and I think he was from Florida, and that's what he did. He drew it, like if you describe it to him, like he would draw it. I don't know what they call these people, but he so much wanted to draw it. So, and me and Dad, I remember describing this creature to him, and he had it so close, like what we saw, like, and it would even scare you just to look at what he had. And we asked for a copy. Well, I'm talking 1976. Like, you don't run out to make a photocopy of it. I'm sure probably people might have had photocopies, but he said he would put this in a magazine or a paper, I can't remember now, and he said he would send us a copy of it. We thought that would be great. We'd have a copy of what we see. If we ever had a picture of it, we were told many times, we had our old cell phones like we got now, we would have had a fortune. But we didn't have cell phones back then, so. This guy, he sent us this, and I don't know why he did it, but he sent us this picture that he put in this magazine of paper, and it was nothing like we had described. And it was a shame, because he had, like, what he put in the paper was like the Loch Ness Monster. We didn't see this the Loch Ness Monster. We didn't even see nothing similar to why he wanted it to be this Loch Ness Monster type thing, I don't know. What we see would even scare Lockie, I'm sure. And I'm not like this. It was a horrible looking creature. I know we had other guys come, and I know we had one guy come, like, I don't know what the word is for these guys that study this kind of stuff, like strange creatures or mammals or whatever. And I remember one guy coming home, and he said He said, you know, every year we discover probably 1,000 different things in the world that we never knew existed. It could be insects, most of them are insects, whatever, but he said, sometimes we discover. He said, he thought it may be, and don't get me on my ass, I'm just quoting what he said, that he said it could have, this sounds like something that could have been in the deep water for like lots and lots of years, trapped in a cave or something. This is what this guy was telling me. That's what he did. Like, he studied this stuff. And he said, probably that explains why all the coral and everything was on it. And he said that maybe an earthquake or something, and it got out this cave or whatever. But he said even in the deep water wartime, people, they would dump all the waste and like radiation or whatever. And he said it could have been something that was deformed that way, whatever, like, so, anyhow, but we had so many people come, and we still get calls every once in a while, and most of the time they don't realize the time difference, and they'll call in the middle of the night. Mom knows, because Mom would, last when Dad was gone, Mom would give them my number, and they'd call me, but anyhow, this is my story, and I know it's hard to believe, but it's the truth. I got no reason to stand up here and lie to nobody. It is the truth. I would never lie in God's house. Never. And I guess that's my story. Anybody got any questions? I'll try to answer.
What was the shape like? Like, what was the shape?
It was shaped. This thing was probably 50, I'm saying close, around 50 foot long. It had a body that was, it was such a, its head had like a hump, like sort of like a hump on the top, and these two big huge eyes stick to the head with these, like I said, all these scars, and it was grayish in color, and the body was, it was a huge body, but, and I know people saying a whale. No, this was no whale. I've seen whales. Like back then I hadn't seen that many whales. Like I said, I've only been fishing for 5 years, but I've seen lots of whales. I've been on the water for 40-something years now. Like, I've been up in the Bay of Fundy fishing, I've been Georges, and I've been Handline. This was no whale. This thing, his tail was shaped more like a codfish, and a whale has a large, we all know, a great big large flat tail. This thing had not, we watched this thing and heard it probably close to an hour. Not once did this thing go under. Not once did it blow like a whale would do. You go down, you can hear a whale blow for miles. Not once. We watched this thing, it didn't submerge at all. Very if it's a whale, it's a new species, I'm sure. But I almost swear this was no whale, this was no shark. His tail looked more like a codfish. But the worst part about it is the characteristic of it was his head. Like, his head was, well, it was terrible. It was frightful. Like, I remember, well, it bothered me for quite many nights. I remember not sleeping for quite many nights, and most people wouldn't. Like, I know we didn't go fishing for quite a while, but that's what we did for a living, so I'm sure we didn't go to the shoal. So, back to the Highland ground where we always went, I'm sure. But I know I heard people say, people in Yarmouth after that, weeks or so after that, we see that creature they see, that whale they see down off Cape Island, we just see it. No, if they see what we see, they wouldn't be making a joke of it. This was no joke. This thing was serious, and it meant harm, and we were just lucky to escape. It wasn't our time to make, I'm sure the Lord didn't mean for us to meet our fate that way, be eaten by a fish or drowned or whatever. This thing went business, so anybody else got it? Yeah.
Pretty sure it was a fish of some kind. It wasn't a mammal. A mammal would, would have.
Many people ask me what do I think it was, and you might think I'm crazy. Probably a lot of you think I'm crazy. My personal thoughts, I think it was some sort of dinosaur type thing. It seems strange, and I know dinosaurs were like hundreds of thousands of years ago, but it almost resembled what a dinosaur would look like. It's like, this was no whale. This was no whale. I know people want to believe that it's a whale, but no. Nobody will convince me that it was a whale.
Rodney, when it came up from his neck down, what was from his neck down, from his head down, like?
It was, from his head down was just like it was like an ordinary fish, sort of like, but it was so full of these coral. It was full, like these white, big, huge white patches, like scars or a coral, or loaded full of what we call carbuncles or whatever. Like it was full, like it's something been, we haul an anchor up, been on bottom for 10 years or so. It's all full of coral or whatnot. That's what this was like. It was full. Its body was, well, it was shaped more like a fish, like, but its tail was no whale's tail, but this was no shark's tail. It was shaped just like a codfish. I see it. When that thing went down, I see that. When I turn around, I see it. Like, this ain't something we see like half a mile away. Like, we were like feet from this thing. Probably here where John is. Like we see it. Like, don't do it. I know, Blood, you think I'm crazy saying that up there, but
I can tell from the way you're talking, you've seen it.
Yeah.
oh yeah, I see it. I got no reason to lie.
What was the face like? Did it have a snout, or was it flat, or?
It had like, something else that would resemble it. You know what a seahorse would look like? A lot of people like the two big eyes and the kind of like sort of little snouty mouth on it with the two big eyes protruding out. If it was a seahorse, it was a 50-footer. I guarantee it. Like, I don't know, and it could be a giant seahorse for all. Like, it did resemble that. Like, sort of looked that way.
What color?
It was sort of a grayish black color. Like,
Did it have any fins on it other than these?
never seen no fins, no. Never see a fin? What? None. This thing never went under. The whole time we see it, this thing never submerged. And we, like, guys that's been fishing, you can hear a whale for miles, or seem like for miles. You can hear them blow, and this thing never once blew. Never once went under. Like I'm talking an hour or so, like more. Never went under. Just that sneaking back and forth like it was looking for something, and it found it. Us. Pardon?
How deep was the water you were fishing in?
We were probably, I'm saying probably between 25, 30 fathom probably. That's deep water. About.
Was it skinny? Was it fat?
Yeah, it was quite fat. It wasn't skinny. Yeah, it was, you're looking at something probably nearly length of this building. Like, it's not no little creature. And as I say the other night, this thing meant harm.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just counting I'm lucky to be here. I know. Like, most times I don't feel comfortable telling this story very often. I've only told it one other time to school back in 1980. They wanted to know if I'd come to the school up in Barrington Head and do the presentation with a friend of mine. And I agreed to it. She said it'll only be a small class, probably 15. Well, I got there, it was a small class, but 3 of them put together. So, when I described it to these kids, and it's hard to describe like fishing terms and that, the grade 5 kids, like, and I said, well, I probably don't understand the word I'm saying, but they all, after I got done, they all clapped, I remember, and I just before I forget, is anybody here that went to Barrington School in 1980? Would have been in grade 5 or 6? I just wonder if they remember me being there, but guess not. Or they're too shy to admit it. But I got about 2 weeks after that, I had a lot of big envelopes come in the mail, and it was these kids. These kids would all probably be in the 40s now, and I recognize some of the names. But I got an envelope over there with, they all draw the picture, what they thought it looked like, and they all thanked me. And I got it over there. If anybody wants to look at it, they're welcome to it. I'll put it up here. You can look at it and you might recognize some of the kids. Like I said, they're all in the 40s now, probably like 1980. So that's the only other time I did I guess I'm warming up now. And I guess, don't know enough shut up, do I? So like I said, I never did this story like as thorough. I know in the hunting camp people would ask me, what did we see or whatever, and when you look at people and you can tell they don't want to believe you to start with, like I just give the quick version. But tonight you folks have probably heard, you would never read what I've said tonight, you never hear it, because I've said things tonight that most people never heard, and it's all the truth. So that's my story.
Are you going to stick to it?
Certainly that, so.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Right, so.
You know her?
No, but it's a pretty good picture
Yeah.
of your description, isn't it?
25 cents, now they're $5 feet.
I bought
Show me the Christmas tree.
This is the actual one. I'm pretty sure this actual one I used that day, 41 years ago. My wife thought it. Thank you so much, give it to me.
You had your plug on the end and your worms in between.
If I had the plug, it would be down below that. The wooden plug would be right on the end. Be a lid on the back.
Oh, you had a lid on the end of this?
Yeah, I think. Or it might have been up just the head of it.
Way we used to have. We used to have
I think just up the head of it.
a lid up ahead, and then we tied onto that, and then we had our worms, and then plug out. But I don't know how you had it, or
I forget. Like, that's 40 odd years ago.
well, we towed it right when we was trailing. We towed it.
Yeah,
so
well, we just haul that one back and forth.
Did you have that tree out when the monster was around?
Well, yeah. When I was using it when I see it. First see it. That's what I was using. That. So, yeah. Well,
So you're happy that you got the story out.
well, yeah. I wanted to tell it. I don't know how it come out. I wanted to tell it. So.
Well, you'll see it. It'll be on YouTube.
Well, yeah, well, that's good then. Yeah.
DP Jones YouTube. Go and subscribe. All that.
You know, and like I said, I hadn't been on the water probably 5 years, like, in my life, but, and I kept watching it, and I said, well, gee, that thing's alive. And I could see it looking around, and these huge eyes, like, that's what you mostly remember about this thing. It had these huge eyes. They weren't, like, just like they weren't in a socket. They weren't just popped out, like, but look almost like you'd see an alligator or something sneaking in the water. But these huge eyes, like, Dad described them as big around as a saucer. But like, they were at least, I'm sure, at least 10 inches across. I know they were huge. These big eyes just sneaking in the water. I said, well, I don't know. Like I said, I hadn't seen a lot of fishing. Well, I said, well, maybe Dad knows what this is. So I hollered to him. I said, Dad, come see what this is out to the stern of the boat. And I remember he come out the cut and peeked out around the house and just give a quick look, and he said, sunfish. And I said, well, I had seen a few sunfish in my day, but not, you know, I knew this was no sunfish. So, but he was only gone about 5 seconds, 10 seconds, maybe back he come. I suppose it dawned on him that this was no sunfish. So we watched this thing as it would swim down by the boat to the eastern, and we couldn't, like, it was foggy that day. We could only probably see here the, probably Vernon Dion's store over here. And it would swim down by, and it was looking all around. Not once looking at our boat for some reason, but it was looking all around like it was looking for something. And it was turning out with a sight, and then it would turn and come back, go back to the western. And like, this is something we didn't see for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. We see this thing for 15, 20 minutes. We see this, like, we watch this thing. This is no little short sighting. Like, we watch this thing, and you could see these on the top of his head, like coral or carbuncles we call them, or huge scars that looked like the top of his head. And we watched it and watched it, and it did this probably 6 or 7 times, just swim down by, just like it was looking for something, but it never once looked at our boat, except for this one time. As it was swimming down by, it stopped and just turned right around. I guess everybody's quiet like that. It just turned right around and like stared right at us. These huge eyes, like, looked like they were like, I was going to say bloodshot, but they weren't. But they were, you could see the red in these eyes. Like, I mean, this was close, and we watched it, and it just settled down in the water. And we said, this don't look right.